Mr. Singh, sorry to keep you waiting. I know you've been waiting for a while, but we had some very interesting discussions before. Now we have the pleasure of having you on stage.
Absolutely.
So, I spoke to two architects as well earlier in the afternoon, and we were discussing about the topics that we are revolving around. At the moment, designing smart homes for sustainability. Now, I want to begin by asking you, what is your concept of designing such homes? What do we mean when we say, let's design a home for sustainability?
Well, normally, as an architect, when I was trained, largely I had the pleasure of working with European architects who happened to be my mentors. And one of the largest ideas that I have learned over my career, it's been around 7 years that I have been in the practice, and sustainability happens to be, especially nowadays, a very, very absolutely crucial part of your design, and it should not be a topping on the main architecture that you're doing. Should be a core aesthetic of absolutely everything that you're developing. Be it a small interiors that you do somewhere else, be it an interiors you're doing at an apartment, or let's say you're making a big mansion somewhere out there. Sustainability factor, the smart home factor, all of these connectivity concepts have become the core mindset of how architecture is delivered. So that has been the way that we have been in the practice.
So what are the challenges when we move towards this direction? Any particular key points that you are facing as major challenges as we as a country try to move towards that goal?
In the Indian context of things, one of the things is that the adoption mindset is still lacking. You'll know that for a fact that we have some really fabulous minds in the architecture industry. I have seen it through and through the bone I've seen it. But the adoption factor amongst the normal user, amongst the normal homeowner is not as good as we see it in other countries. Even Middle East is much ahead in that sector.
Why do you think that mindset persists? Like, जो परखा हुआ है, tried and tested है, उसी पे follow करेंगे? Is that the mindset?
देश का एक मुज़ार है कि जो चीज़ थोड़ी सी economical factor में लेकर जानी है हमने. एक तो वो है, one of those sectors that I have often seen is, in case let us say I do a project here in Delhi, and in South Delhi if I'm doing a house and somebody asks me that Harkaran, we need to make something that is through and through automated, and it should help us achieve passive heating, passive cooling, all those fundamental ideologies, that does add to the cost. So when the cost factor comes in, that is one thing. Another is that as an industry as a whole, we are not very fine-tuned as yet when it comes to the factors of sustainability and all these modulations.
आपको लगता है कहीं ना कहीं there is lack of information availability also? मतलब लोगों को इतना पता नहीं है कि कैसे वो अपने बजट में उन सस्टेनेबिलिटी गोल्स को भी फिट कर सकते हैं, इस वजह से भी रेजिस्टेंस है? there is lack of information in the market, or there's a genuine problem कि अगर आपने ऐसा कुछ टेक्नोलॉजी को अडॉप्ट किया तो कॉस्ट तो ऊपर बढ़ेगी and there is no way that you can get out of it?
Absolutely. If the education about that particular idea is not as averse. When I graduated, we are taught those things in architecture schools. And how many architects are graduating anyways? It's 25,000 a year. And I don't know that many architects who are trying to establish their practices are promoting these fundamentals or not. Most like, ठीक है, client है, serve करना है, उसके needs को मैंने pacify करना है. If I feel very corely that if there is an ecosystem of support, then I don't feel that there would be any aversion or any lack thereof of the adaptability of smart home solutions in all the kind of projects that are happening in the country. And our country needs that to the most. We are those people who are going to serve the most as far as climate change is concerned.
Right.
Absolutely the most. And we contribute the least, in fact. The countries that are contributing the most are the countries in Europeans and the Americas. We don't contribute as much. And we are a population
despite our
so
population.
big. Yeah. Yes, and despite this big of a population, we don't contribute as much.
Yeah.
And the products, we as architects, we have been trained to see buildings as products. And those products that we are generating out there are not resilient enough. Sadly, the resilience factor is lacking to the bone of the way service is working. But yes, there are very sharp minds. There have been a beautiful architect who was, I guess, the only Prince Award winner from Ahmedabad, B.V. Doshi. He, I guess it's been on 50 years, he worked under Le Corbusier, and he drove the range of sustainability across Ahmedabad. If, I guess, couple of such heroes come along, just a couple of them, they are enough to drive a change that will be massive. and we can see a big change coming across.
Do you want to share any experience that you are extremely proud of where you could, get what you wanted in keeping in mind the client's purpose as well, the client's demand as well, and a project that has made you proud being in this industry and delivering according to your own goals as well as sustainability goals?
So that is pretty. So the project is there. It's kind of very sensitive towards me. So I belong to the city of Amritsar and born and brought up in that Sikh mindset and everything. And I got a chance to develop the redevelopment of Gurudwara Goindwal Sahib. So Goindwal Sahib is my studio got to do that, and it's been the epicenter of Sikhism, from where Sikhism started. I was surprised, honestly surprised. The people leading from the front who were funding the entire project, they are not, I don't think so, they are as well averse with all the things, but they were ready to invest and explore. Be it passive heating, passive cooling, use of those Nanak Shahi bricks in the project. I guess that has been a project where, the client is, jo karna hai karo, but the thing must come across as one of the examples of how, let's say, aaj se agar 200 saal pehle medieval architecture mein hua hota. That kind of an example is honestly most heartwarming for me.
Okay, that's great to know. Now, I want to understand from the line of duty that an architect stands on. आपको एक project मिलता है, client बोलता है मुझे ये चाहिए, आप ये deliver कर दो. At that point in time, does it happen with you that you push for something which is, taking them towards perhaps the smart living goal, and at the same time, the sustainability aspect that we are all looking at when we move towards a smart setup?
Absolutely, that's the architect's onus itself. We cannot expect the client to have all the core information about it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's say if you are going to hire me to make a house, of course you will not be aware about all the fundamentals that are there.
Absolutely.
It's going to be my push to tell you that these things we should incorporate in a project. And surprisingly, in our country, I've seen that happen in cities which we do not expect things like that to happen. Talk about the Far East. We are doing a project in Difu in Assam. How many of you here have even heard about Difu as a city? And we are doing a project that is, I guess, crossing all the markers of LEED certifications. And one of the first LEED certification residences that will be in Assam. So I feel clientele should also be well alert. But yes, the architect's owner stands at a much higher pedestal.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges that you face. I also want to understand the opportunities that lie ahead in Indian landscape in both urban and rural areas when it comes to having this sort of goal in mind, moving towards the smart setup, maintaining sustainability.
Well, I feel that we as a generation of Indian subcontinent, we have a huge culture that is behind of us. And sustainability was not even a part of our architecture or our even dictionary at the starting phase. So let's say if you just pick out 4 or 5 liners from medieval architecture that we have, the Rajputana architecture that we have. So that is the benefit that this country offers. They have a huge dictionary that they can rely upon and develop solutions for.
How are we going about integrating technology? Because there's so much available right now. And we have spoken extensively about integrating technology in home setup, but in offices, I think we are still not at par with what the world is doing. What is your understanding of integrating technology in office spaces and making them smart offices where we work?
See, honestly, comparing it in the Indian context, if you ask me to compare residences with offices in this country, offices are much more advanced with regards to the incorporation of smart home technologies, IoTs, automations, and everything.
But when we compare with
But when you compare it to, let's say, more developed countries, here's an example. I was at Riyadh recently for a summit, and I was shocked that a country so hot in weathers and temperatures, they are doing some fabulous work with regards to the temperature controls and everything with regards to the offices, how they're developing. And yes, compared with countries like Europe and Americas and everything, of course, we have a long journey still to stretch.
When we say that Japan already is living in 2050.
They absolutely are.
They are. So, if the goal is that, that's super developed country, super advanced in all sort of technologies, how would you rate where is India living at the moment? In which decade are we?
That's a tough one, honestly. That's a tough one. But firstly, I would not be somebody, who will ask me to rate it कि हम जापान से कंपेयर कैसे हम करते हैं, that's not a goal.
जापान से कंपेयर नहीं करते हैं,
That's
लेकिन
not a
हम
goal.
कौन सी सेंचुरी में अभी अटके हुए हैं in terms of technologies that are there in the world?
As far as technologies in context of architecture and design, honestly, we are not very behind, let's say 8-10 years back, max.
Okay.
Max to max.
Okay.
But the adoption is the friction. How do you adopt it? Now here's a question, I don't know if other architects will coerce with me. The way the plans are made in this country, the home plans are made. 99% of those plans are made in softwares like AutoCAD. Japan, Europe, all these countries are into BIMs. They model the entire building out. It's like treating as a section. All the pipelines, everything is in a BIM model. We don't even do that. So that adoption scale is what is lacking. If you inherit that as a part of policy, then you can really stretch the goals forward.
प्लान से मुझे याद आया हरकरन, एक ज़माना था जब घर की प्लानिंग घर के लोग ही बैठ के कर लेते थे, यहाँ पे कमरा होगा, यहाँ किचन होगा, यहाँ पे बाथरूम होगा, बरामदा होगा, ये होगा, आर्किटेक्ट्स की जरूरत ही नहीं होती थी लोगों को।
माना नहीं जाता था कि आर्किटेक्ट को लेकर भी आना है हमने,
क्या जरूरत है पैसा खर्च करने की? Have we moved beyond that?
The core cities, like of course these have moved way beyond that, and the same adoption is happening. The ones who may have made good money and those who think of the value of architects, they are. But here I would like to point to one of the issues that we face as a country. Who do you say is an architect? Who do you say is an architect?
Yeah, what's the definition?
What's the definition? Even the country, even the laws itself in my nation are not as clear. Who is an architect? Who is a builder? Who is a contractor? It's not. Everybody knows how to make a plan.
That's a very good point, yeah.
Everybody, even a local thekedar can make a plan.
Usually they do.
Yes, usually they do.
Yeah.
And sometimes even better than what architects do. But
that's what you are saying.
but at the end of the day, who do you say is an architect? So that bindations on who can practice as an architect have to be absolutely strong.
So what is your vision? We are moving towards wrapping up the session. I would also invite a few questions. What is your vision as a young architect in the country? Your vision as we move towards this, smart life, smart living concept. Where do you see your fraternity fitting in and the impact that they can make?
Rather than giving a vision, I can share a dream if you want.
Sure.
Okay. Not just for the sake of the session that we are doing, it is honestly something that we all should aim for. We really need to learn from our ancestors. They were excellent in probably every asset of what they developed, and just that little bit of respect for how they made stuff happen, the way they made building. Talk about Indus and Harappan civilizations.
Right.
Absolute gems of sustainability. Absolute gems. We discovered them almost 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And they survived that amount of torment. So
and their design was way ahead of their time.
Way ahead of that time. We had open drains back then. So just by learning that, I would like to see this country in next, by the time I'm in my 50s, that the new breed of architects or developers or constructors, well-tuned, they are being taught that how this civilization developed, and we mix and merge the new age technologies, and that beautiful cocktail of solutions comes up that is India-centric, desh ke liye.
Correct.
So that's important.
So from the audience, do we have any questions for our architect panelist here? किसी के अगर कोई सवाल हो जो हम पहले आर्किटेक्ट से नहीं ले पाए थे, can I have a question, a mic here in the front row? Yeah, please pass on the mic. आप अपने आप को इंट्रोड्यूस कीजिए and you can direct your question.
Hello sir, my name is Prachi Jha. I want to ask you कि अब जो existing households हैं तो उसमें हम ऐसी क्या चीज़ें ऐड कर सकते हैं जो वो नॉर्मल घर स्मार्ट भी बन जाए और सस्टेनेबल भी हो जाए?
बड़ा सवाल है कि आप जो बने हुए घर हैं उनमें आप स्मार्ट कैसे करें, बट मेरे लिए सबसे जो बेहतरीन स्मार्ट की भाषा है वो ये है कि आपके जो बने हुए घर हैं उनको अगर आप सस्टेनेबिलिटी की तरफ मूव करना चाहते हैं तो थोड़ा सा, जैसे मैंने पहले बोला, दैट रिलाई मोर अपॉन व्हाट वी ऑलरेडी नो रादर देन इन्वेंटिंग न्यू सोल्यूशंस कि आप टेक्नोलॉजी ऐड कर दो. फॉर मी दैट्स नॉट द फेसेट ऑफ प्योर आर्किटेक्चर. सो रिलाई अपॉन व्हाट वी ऑलरेडी नो. And here is an example. If you go to Hawa Mahal, you must have gone to Hawa Mahal. There are 953 windows in Hawa Mahal that keeps the entire building cool all through the day. Those kind of solutions, and they are smart solutions, not those ki wire kar di or automation kar di. That they are a part of the age that we are living in, robotics and AI and everything that is coming along. That is a beautiful, beautiful annexure that we should look at. But that should be intertwined and mixed with what's already there, what we should learn from. and not just copy from what Europe or America did anyways.
But Harkaran, you know, our country also has unique problems. अब ये जो हवा महल वगैरह बने थे ये बहुत पहले वाले ज़माने में बने थे. अब आज के pollution में अगर हवा महल बना देंगे तो कैसे जिएंगे?
वही बात है कि वो solutions थे तब के. आज के time में solutions वो वैसे intrinsic solution निकालने की ज़रूरत है. Let us say the previous panelist as you was talking about, the intrinsic solutions जो आज की situation में अगर pollution हमारी तरफ हुआ है तो what we learn from there is that, you know, of course windows aligned in a certain fashion can really add to a lot of wind flow. Of course अगर हम दिल्ली में लगाएंगे तो आप तो जी नहीं पाएंगे. But how do you place them? Yes, you can mix them with HVAC solutions, fresh air solutions, and that intermix is important. Not just one reliance. That intermix of both the things has to happen to make sure that beautiful things happen. I know my time is running out. I'll give you an example. How many of you have heard about passive cooling towers? They are a core part of Saudi architecture. They raise these huge buildings above the main building blocks. They let all the air come in, hot air goes out, and beneath the main building के नीचे उन्होंने HVAC fresh air लगाई होती है. So while they are pumping cool air into the temperatures, जो बाहर के fumes हैं जैसे हम बाहर छोड़ रहे हैं वो hot air में उस पे छोड़ते ऊपर लेकर जाते हैं.
Oh wow.
And then that ejects out to the upper strata of atmosphere. तो main आपकी जो हवा है वो गर्म नहीं होती.
Wow.
Intrinsic solution है ना.
Yeah.
So those kind of things need to be developed.
Very interesting, and I wish we had more time to, you know, go into the details of all these, very informative things that you have come across. Big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much, Harkaran. It was a pleasure having you here.